Detroit Den, we're back. Stephen Will, ready to talk that Detroit Lions football. But before we get started, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Please don't forget that bell icon so you don't miss any of our new content. Steve, please tell the people what we're talking today.
More draft. More draft prospects. More people who come to this Detroit Lions team and be a problem. We're going to talk about Latu. I hope I'm getting that right. I'm just going to call him Latu. That's easier for me. Latu. Defensive end / edge from the University of UCLA? I don't know what that Central Los Angeles. This kid's a problem. I think he is one of the best pass rushers in this draft. I would say he's one of the top 3, and that's a position of need for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
How do you feel about him?
Steve, this young man has been someone that I've been watching. I enjoy his game. I don't have any questions about his game. At the Senior Bowl, I had some questions answered about who he is as a person. We oftentimes on our show talk about the wish that we got the opportunity to be in that draft room with Brad and Dan, talking to these guys and getting the behind the scenes information about what their favorite color is and what they like to do in their free time. Right. And this is another guy that loves football. This is another guy that has an intense focus, drive, and determination to be out there on the field being successful. And he's committed to his craft. So to spare the people the suspense of what you're going to ask me at the end of the show, is he a Dan Campbell guy? Is he all grit? The answer is yes. And outside of his skills, that's why I love him. I do. I like him a lot.
There's very few draft prospects this year where I can say I don't have any concerns about his gameplay. Latu is one of them. I don't have any concerns about how he plays the football game. All my concerns are minor little things. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But why we're talking about Latu is at the beginning or not too long ago, a lot of mock drafts had him in the top 10. They had him as a top 10 pick, top edge rusher. For some reason, he's slowly in mock drafts, and mock drafts don't mean anything. It's just like a reference point. Mock drafts like a reference point. They're just fun to look at, fun to see some changes, some new names popping up. But I have noticed his name falling deeper and deeper down that first round draft pick. And it's got me hoping, can he fall to 29? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But it wouldn't even be a conversation because we're not going to come on here and do a show about Caleb Williams. Right. We're not going to get Caleb Williams. He's not going to fall to 29. It's not even possible. Bet your house on it that he goes in the top 5. It's just, he's not going to be the next Aaron Rodgers who falls in the draft. He will be the number 1 pick, if not a top 5 for sure. So we're not going to talk about that unless the Detroit Lions move up. But when I see a guy falling down draft boards, it starts to pique my interest more. And I start to think, could it be a realistic option at pick 29 that Latu is still on the board?
I don't want to steal your thunder because I feel like this is kind of a baby that you talked about already. But the answer for me is yes, for all the reasons that we talked about off air. Someone really good is going to be there, and it could very well be him. I will say in his defense, I don't think he's done anything to slide. Kind of like the Brian Branch situation. Brian Branch didn't do anything to slide. It was just a matter of what teams needed, teams moving up in a draft to do certain things for their teams. And, as a player, he's just been phenomenal. The only issue that we have, I think anybody has with this game, is the fact of the injury. So you want to tell them a little bit about his injury that he had?
Yeah, so I think that's the only concern some people have, and I'm not concerned with it, is he had some type of neck injury when he was a freshman at Washington. He had to sit out 2 years of football before signing and joining up with UCLA. So he had a neck fusion surgery. That's something I'm very familiar with. I've had that done myself. I had the same exact surgery that Peyton Manning had, where I didn't have feeling in an arm. Obviously, my lifestyle is different than Peyton Manning, where I don't have 300-pound defensive tackles barreling down on me. So it didn't, it's different, but it's the same. So I'm familiar with what he went through. It's a process. It sucks. But he came back. He's playing football. He's played football the last 2 years at a high level. 10.5 sacks. And what did he have this year? Like 13.5, something like that. Like he's adapted to his injury and he's overcome it. And he's playing football at a very high level. That could be the reason why he's falling down these draft boards. Because it's like you said, it's nothing he said. It's nothing he's done on the football field. If I had to put a finger to it, it would probably be this neck injury. So fingers crossed that neck injury slides him to the Detroit Lions, because I think he's more than fine. He's going to be I see him being a perennial Pro Bowler for a long period of time in the NFL.
Whoa. Hey, listen, I don't think it's off the table. Hot take, though. Hot take. But I don't think it's off the table. I like for him to get a couple NFL snaps before I name him a Pro Bowler. But
you were giving out gold jackets to Brian Branch last year in training camp.
I mean, was I wrong? But anyways, but that being said, I think that he definitely has an opportunity to be a great football player in this league. I don't think anything we see on film speaks anything else than him being a solid football player in this league, potentially all-pro or Pro Bowler. The neck injury, medical retirement at that does, bring up some red flags and some, potential. But I trust this medical staff. I trust the NFL medical staff to, go through with a fine-tooth comb and try to find anything that would be of real reference for us to, screen him from getting on a team and then, wasting a first-round draft pick on a guy who won't be able to play. But after they do all of their due diligence, if they select him, I will be overjoyed. I think he's going to be a great football player. But I do have something to say that I feel like was kind of overlooked. Guys, you guys don't know that Steve had many, many years of playing quarterback at the high level of a very successful flag football team. You guys, hey, listen, hey, Steve's pump fake is real, is all I'm going to tell you guys. But back to business. Latu's a beast, man. I would love to see him, on the Detroit Lions. I think he obviously fits that pass rush mold, but he's another guy that would be versatile. The guys that I love, 6'5". He's a large human with a large wingspan. He could just create some problems and help out Aiden Hutchinson. So yeah, I'm with you, Steve. I think he's going to be a great player if we select him.
6'5", 265, 270, somewhere in that range. 13 sacks last year for UCLA. I mean, I've been seeing some stuff that something's going on with John Kaminsky, and there's some rumors floating around that the Lions are going to cut him. He's going to be a cap casualty. I don't know what his cap number is, but I will tell you that if something happens with Kaminsky and he gets cut, I think there will be writing on the wall that one of two things is going to happen. Brad Holmes is either going to go out and sign one of the top defensive ends who's available, or he's going to make a move to get one of the top defensive ends available. You can bet your dollar on that if the Kaminsky thing happens, if we cut him to save some money. One of those two things will happen. I'd bet my house on it. But why are we talking about Latu, William? The numbers. The numbers don't lie.
They don't lie.
Someone in this draft has to fall to the Detroit Lions.
Well, it's something we talk about all the time, man. Spill it to the people, though.
So just today, I was sitting up in the office doing some football research, looking at some mock drafts, and I'm just crunching numbers here. I'm not usually a numbers guy, but 4 or 5 quarterbacks have to go in the first round. We're just going to talk the first round. I got 4 or 5 quarterbacks. You got the Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, in a high possibility of a Penix or a Bo Nix, maybe both, depending on what teams want to do. If they want to move up and get that quarterback, if they're needing a quarterback, they want that 5th-year option. Trading back into the first round's a possibility. So we got 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the first round. We got 6 receivers, maybe 7, but we'll stick to 6. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, Troy Franklin, in my opinion, first rounder, and he's been in a lot of first round mocks. Keon Coleman. What's that? What's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That's 5 right there. You want to throw in any combination of Adonai Mitchell or Brian Thomas for LSU? That's 6.
Yeah.
5 defensive backs are going to go in the first round. Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins, Kidyon Mitchell. Could be a wild card, could be a 6 somewhere, but we'll just stick to the 5. 9 offensive linemen. I'm not going to name them all. There's 9.
Yeah.
So you do the math. That comes out to 23, 24, depending. We pick at 29. We didn't even mention any pass rushers. We didn't mention any defensive tackles. We didn't mention any defensive ends. There's going to be guys available. You want to talk? I listed off all those positions. So who does that leave available? Jared Verse, Johnny Jerzon Newton from Illinois, Dallas Turner, Latu Letu, like we're talking here, Byron Murphy, defensive tackle from Texas, Braylon Trice, defensive end from Washington, Darius Robinson. There's going to be someone available. We don't know who, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, someone will be available without a doubt. Whether it's our guy or one of our guys is really the true question. But I think what's even of bigger context is what you're talking about is making me, and it should make the people even more hyper aware that at pick 20, 21, 22, 23, there may be our guy may be available. And the tax from going from pick 29 to pick 20 is going to be substantially less than trying to go up to pick 15 to pick 10. You know what I mean? So there might be an opportunity to where even, and I've seen it in the mock drafts, even you might have a Dallas Turner or a Jared Verse sliding to those teams. Do you sneak up there and go up there and go grab them?
You got two third-round picks.
You know, and then to the contrary, in the back half of this draft, or when we start talking about these quarterbacks, PFF has 12 teams potentially drafting a quarterback this year in the NFL. There's 5 quarterbacks that are really being looked at as the guys.
First-round talents.
Yep. So you got Caleb Williams, you got Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, right? So these quarterbacks are quarterbacks that could easily be seen coming into this first round. I think we're going to live in a world to where either our guy is available for a reasonable trading price or just at 29 and we're going to select them, or we're going to trade back into that second round because we got multiple guys that we like on the board and somebody is going to come up at that pick 29 to get a quarterback. Latu is a guy that I see in that class of Jared Verse, Dallas Turner type of guy. After that, for me, the Braylon Trices, the Darius Robinsons, those guys, while they're going to be potentially solid players in the NFL, I don't know if they're day one impact players. That's the difference for me. I hope that if we're living in a world where Latu is there at pick 29, I hope that we are sprinting to that podium to go get him. But for the people that I know that are going to ask me if I'm picking between Latu and Edrin Cooper,
I already know the answer to this one,
buddy.
No, his name wasn't even on the list. Also, another name I didn't have on the list was Brock Bowers. We kind of consider him like a wild card. He's really a tight end, but he could play receiver, so we kind of have him in that. That's just another number. The more people, the more offensive people that go in this draft is better for the Detroit Lions. Mm-hmm. The more quarterbacks that go in this draft, better for the Detroit Lions. Either one of these cornerbacks or one of these defensive ends, odds are you're going to have your pick of the litter on a couple of them. We don't know who. We're not Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes doesn't even know who's going to fall. We will not know until draft day, April 25th.
Mm-hmm.
And we could throw in another X factor into the equation. If one team really likes one of these running backs in the draft, who I don't have any first round grades on a running back, and neither do a lot of other people, all it takes is one team to really like a running back. We saw that same thing last year with Brad Holmes taking Jahmyr Gibbs. So you never know. Someone is going to fall. We're talking about all the defensive names. We're talking about all the big defensive names in this draft because we do not know who it will be.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. Kevin Garnett.
Anything is possible, man. Anything is possible. I think if we want an edge rusher will be there to be selected. It's a matter of if it's a guy that we like. I think Latu is a guy that I could see us drafting at pick 29.
Or vice versa. We could say all these defensive ends go and one of the cornerbacks fall to us. It could be a Kenyon Mitchell or a Kool-Aid McKinstry. We're going to have options.
Yeah, I will tell you that Kenyon Mitchell will not be there at pick 29.
What if he's hanging around at like 23? And you getting on the phone?
Man, I'll just say this. He won't be. But yeah, if he was, then absolutely. I truly believe that Kenyon is going to, and I got a little inside news on him, but I think he's going to go to that combine. He's going to run his 4.3, and he could potentially be the first cornerback selected. If not the first, probably the second.
So there it is, guys. We've talked Letu, absolute stud, not worried about his neck injury. 6'5", 270 pounds on the other defensive end side of Aiden Hutchinson is what we've been talking about all year. If that's not the route we go, maybe someone like a Kool-Aid McKinstry's there at 29. Point of this episode is we're talking the big names of the Detroit Lions in the Detroit Lions draft. Who's going to be there? We don't know. We're going to find out in about 2 months.
Yep.
So we're going to be talking all the names. Hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, subscribe, guys, and we'll be back later with some more content.
Peace.